Hello, my name is Brain. I can remember thousands of things, but to make sure I don't forget what I've learned, keep in mind, information only stays with me if it leaves a memory trace. A memory trace is something that's created as soon as you start to encode something, and when you start to encode something, a chain is set in motion at the synapse level, that is, at the molecular level of the brain, through what's called long-term potentiation. That's how memory is actually formed. That's the memory trace. I really need to concentrate on the subject matter that I'm learning. The very presence of a cell phone distracts me and ties up some of my capacity, so get rid of it. It can be more effective to study in a quiet room with as few other distractions as possible instead of at the library. That way I can focus on the essentials. If your attention is focused on multiple things, the effect you want to have, for example, while learning, is significantly diminished because you can't use your full capacity in terms of attention. I learn most effectively when several impressions are linked together. When I learn on a screen, I only have the written word. With a book, I have additional input, what the paper feels like, and where the information is located, for example, at the top right of the page. Making handwritten notes or drawing a diagram of the learning material engages different senses and creates additional memory traces. People who can memorize huge amounts of material construct stories that build on one another. They make a semantic framework around the content they're memorizing. If they're learning vocabulary and they're only learning verbs, it's much tougher than if they're also memorizing nouns and adjectives and building them into a story. The method of loci technique is also based on stories. To employ it, use a space you know well. Your own home, for example. Or your route to work, your gym, or somewhere else. You connect the stops along your way with funny stories. You want to remember your shopping list? Imagine apples are hiding in the drawer, or a toilet roll in the coffee maker instead of the pot. The stuffed pig in the blender is a reminder to buy ground pork. Then, at the supermarket, walking around the room in your mind will automatically remind you of what you wanted to buy. Another important point, repetition. Memory traces only become strong and lasting if you review the subject matter the next day, whether vocabulary, facts, or formulas. It's known that people forget the most by far within the first 24 hours. 50% of everything we learn will be forgotten in the next 24 hours. That means if you want to consolidate your learning or review it so you have it for a longer time, meaning create a permanent memory trace and long-term memory, then repetition will improve the effect. For this to work well, I need vitamins and minerals, but most of all, lots of carbohydrates and amino acids, and enough sleep. My curiosity is boundless, so keep learning new things. That'll protect me from forgetfulness and dementia well into old age.